roll. You ready? Mm-hmm. Will, this is day 47?
47.
6.
46.
What day? 23. Something like day 23.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Me neither. I've lost count of days. But we do know it's the last day. Well, it's the last day that we're hunting together.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest, Early-Archery elk hunting, 2020.
2020.
Yeah. Came to an end officially last night.
It did.
It's 7:40 I put my headlamp on.
Yeah.
Climbing out of that canyon. So about probably 25 minutes before that it ended for me. I'm not sure what time you walked back to the truck.
Yeah, right at dark. Yeah.
I'd like to say that we started planning this thing a year ago, but we dreamed of it in 1992.
We did. Sitting at a bar.
At a bar.
In Naples, Italy.
Country bar.
Yep. DJ.
Dancer extraordinaire.
He was a dancer extraordinaire.
Actually, I was kind of a terrible dancer, but we still had a good time.
We did. Yeah.
That was back in the days when a real cowboy didn't line dance and a real buckaroo wouldn't even watch.
That's correct.
Yep, that is correct. And
That's...
both of us were actually real buckaroos. In fact, we were probably more successful at rodeoing than we were at archery elk season this year.
Well, I can attest to that for sure. It was a tough season. Up here, I kind of went through and we wanted to hunt Roosevelt elk. We want to get one. We want to get one of each of three. We want a Thule, we want a true Roosevelt, and we want a Rocky Mountain. And so it came down to picking an area and trying to figure out where we wanted to go. And I went through the map and was looking at a bunch of, doing my homework, doing statistics, and 681 popped up as being a pretty good archery area with a pretty good success. I think 17% for archers.
Something like that.
Yeah, is what I read from last year's report. So we decided to go in there.
32%, 3%.
It was 17%.
It was good. It was good odds.
Yeah, and there was larger bulls taken out of there.
Greater odds than a lottery ticket.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I decided that we would go into 681. Good thing about 681 is that in the center of 681 is a permit area from Weyerhaeuser. Costs you $250, and you really have to push the keys quick because they go in a matter of a minute. Yes. 250 of them.
So let's talk about that real quick.
Or was it 200? It was 200 and 250.
It was 250.
Cost 250.
250 for a. You can either get a non-motorized or a motorized. The motorized was 250. If anybody's coming out to the Pacific Northwest and you want to hunt a permit access only area, look up Weyerhaeuser, also known as Waco, Weyco. I guess that's a new buzzword for them. But you can find multiple properties throughout the Pacific Northwest that are permit only. Their permit application day is different from their open time frames.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you target a particular Waco property, highly recommend that you have at the minimum one electronic device prepped and ready to go, because the permit sold out for hours in a minute.
Yeah, it was 250 permits.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they sold out in a minute.
Yeah.
Definitely, if you want that opportunity, and it worked out great. They mail you a key. They mail you an actual
permit placard, a map,
a waterproof map.
Yeah.
It's actually a really nice map.
Yeah.
They send you the whole packet, and they did a really good job. You let yourself in, you pick your campsite, and they had somebody patrolling even though we were only checked once, the guy seemed to know our truck, so I believe he had been through several times. We just weren't at the truck when he came through because we really didn't spend a lot of time driving roads or sitting in the truck. We were crushing the canyon. So, all right, so that's the Waco piece. Pete's. Go ahead.
Well, so we decided on that, and it really worked out good for us this year because the unfortunate thing is we had a bunch of wildfires in the state of Washington and Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, and actually everything around us was closed. The only place in western Washington you can hunt during the fire season, while the fire's going on, was this Waco piece of property, and so we got to stay on the animals while people who didn't have passes were sitting at home trying to find a place to go. So it worked out for us. I can tell you that there is no amount of workout preparation you can do to prepare yourself for the country that is on the coast of Washington State. Now, I've never been to Oregon on the coast and hunted there, but I can tell you that Unit 681 is no joke. It is rugged. It is thick. It is, quote unquote, is. It just is. It's very brushy, very up and down. We ran into quite a few bulls.
About once a day?
Once a day.
Oh, once a day.
We got them anywhere from 100 yards down to 30 yards, but it's so brushy in there that we just could not...
couldn't make it happen.
Just couldn't make it happen. They just didn't want to commit, and I don't think that they went into the rut yet.
Well, if they did, it was really quiet. So, and we don't know if the smoke from the wildfires had anything to do with it. When I flew into Portland, I flew through a haze of orange smoke in the approach, and just walking around town, walking around camp, your clothes smelled like a campfire.
Yep.
And that was the first 4 days.
4 or 5 days.
It was the air quality was terrible. So we don't. That potentially had a part of it to do with it. And the opening weekend for being a permit area is pretty busy.
It was.
And there was a lot of guys running and gunning. The Cat Road Shuffle was in full force, and Michael and I had pretty much locked ourselves down into the drainages, the canyons, and the creek bottoms. But even as time progressed and the hunting pressure dropped off rapidly due to the animals weren't talking, the weather went from being dry, no rain, and hot to, it seemed from one day it was dry and hot, and the next day it did what the Pacific Northwest is known for, and it dumped on us for 4 days.
Yeah.
And the hunting pressure never picked back up. But we even got into some areas where it was straight up walk-in only, and it was miles from any type of main access road, and still I hunted that I got out of that big canyon yesterday.
Yeah.
And got up on a ridge, and there was elk sign everywhere. If you look at my Limitless Outdoors Facebook page, you'll see a video there that I posted live from on top of that ridge. There was, I could hardly take 3 steps without having to avoid a pile of elk droppings. And I had one bull bugle at me 3 times from quite a fair distance. He closed half the distance. I think he got within a couple, maybe 200-300 yards of me. And then he just went dead quiet, and I never saw him again. So just all across the board, the animals were not talking. And when it's that thick down there, it makes the toughing not just difficult and challenging, but dang near impossible.
Well,
and it turned out to be.
And when they're not aggressive, and when you're trying to call and bugle elk and trying to position yourself downwind or wherever you need to be, even though we had the rain as cover for bouncing from place to place, if they're not active and they're not wanting to come in and challenge, no matter if you cow called or you bugled, they just didn't want to close that last little bit. Come in.
It seemed if they were 300-400 yards out or further, they might respond to a bugle. Mm-hmm. If they were 300-400 yards or less, they would only react to a cow call. And once you got within 100 yards, most of the time, even just cow calls, they just shut down. They just disappeared. There was two times that we had elk under 50 yards. And both times, they did not want to play.
And the one thing that I ran into that I've never heard in the woods before is them strictly chuckling and not bugling. You'd bugle them way off, they would bugle, But if, like you said, if they were within that 100 yards, they literally would only chuckle. I've never heard that before in the woods in my life, just hearing the chuckle. And that's what all of them were doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's Pac Northwest specific, but I've been in Montana, I've been in Colorado, and I have never heard elk just strictly chuckle, which was strange to me. Which, you know, what is your new calling tactic if they're just chuckling? Do you just chuckle back at them, or do you still try to bugle them and get them wound up? Do you try to cow call and get them excited? None of that really worked for us.
That's a question for Angry Spike Productions, the guys at Born and Raised Outdoors. I'll be hitting you guys up. What do you do when the Roosevelt elk on the coast are not bugling actively, and all you're receiving from them is chuckles and a little bit of whistling and whining?
Yeah.
That was pretty much it. So that's what follow on some questions with you guys. I know there was a lot of lessons learned on this hunt. Michael and I both use pretty much different gear across the board. There's very few items that we carry on our person,
or where
on our bows, or packs that are the same. We use the same broadhead right now. We use the same stabilizer, and
that's about it.
And the same camp stove.
And the same camp
stove. And other than that, that's socks.
And socks.
You're starting to wear my brand of socks. Smart Wolves, yeah.
Smart Wolves.
He came over to the Smart Wool side. But other than that, we're very different across the board. And I will say that watching all the videos on gear tests and reviews, you can go to Colorado, you can go to Wyoming, and you can wear your stuff, you can try your stuff. You really want to put your stuff to the test, come on out to the coast, on the coast, get within 50 miles of the Pacific Northwest coastline, and wear your stuff for 10 days, and tell us what you think of your stuff.
Yeah.
And I know. So I'm a Badlands guy. I'm using the Badlands, the Vario. I have the 2200 day pack. I have the Vario frame, the 2200 day pack, and the Vario 33, their 3300 cubic inch pack. Flying colors across the board. It's comfortable, and they don't advertise it as being waterproof. Everything in my bag was dry unless I put something inside of it.
After 3 or 4 days of straight rain.
Correct. My layering, the clothing that I took, Badlands clothing, the layerings that I used, and I'll put this on my side. I'm not gonna get into details on that tonight, guys. Was great. I'm shooting the Prime Black 3. Loved it. The tight spot quiver for me was clutch. I went through some atrocious environments with Michael, and I never had an arrow come loose in my quiver at all, whether it was in my hand or strapped to my pack.
Why do you say that?
Well, maybe it's a story for another time.
Maybe.
And so I was really impressed with my Prime Black 3. I throat punched a stump. It was a great shot.
Yeah.
And retrieved my arrow.
Yeah.
So it's a huge shout out to Badlands. I'll let Michael tell you about some of his key gear that he used.
Yeah. So I ran the Exo pack, the Exo mountain pack. I ran a 3200 and I had the 4800 because originally we were planning on packing in. We found out that wasn't feasible because there isn't a flat spot to put 2 tents anywhere, small tents.
There was not.
And it was just, so we decided to do a base camp, and luckily I had brought a base camp with us, and we used that. But ran with a 3200, very versatile, extremely comfortable. I think my daily weight for food and things that I needed to take with me was probably around 20 to 22 pounds, I would think. Little disappointing. With the only thing that I would say needed to change with the Exo pack would be the zippers on the pouches that you buy. They're loud, and you couldn't make them not loud. So if we worked on that, I think that pack the rest of it was flawless. It was comfortable. it was good. And you're getting ready to say something.
I was just gonna say that even through the torrential downpours, when I knew Michael was gonna open up one of the pouches on the lumbar belt, I would get right up next to him because his zippers on those 2 pouches were so loud it literally scared the rain away. It was like I dropped underneath an umbrella.
Yeah. So, but other than that, the whole rest of the system was absolutely perfect. I think just need to work on those zippers a little bit, but other than that, it was awesome. I ran Sika gear, all layered. I ran all the early season, the Ascent gear, the pants, the shirt, the vest. I love the vest. The vest was perfect to just take on and take off pretty quickly and stay kind of cool. Crispy boots. I ran the GTX Thors, and I ran the Brickathals, and both of them flawless. Feet got a little tired the first couple of days. Wasn't because of the boots. It was just because of my feet weren't used to be going up and down all day for 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever it was. So after my feet settled out a little bit and I got me some Smart Mules, they work perfect. But I'll tell you, if you hunt the Pacific Northwest, you better have a pair of socks for every single day you hunt. Even if they're wet and you dry them, you need a clean pair of socks, because out here when your feet are wet for 4 or 5 days in a row, you're going to get foot rot, and you can't. There's no way around it. Powder is not going to take care of it. But other than that, I ran I shoot the Matthews no cam. Worked great. I'll tell you that if you plan on coming out here in this brushy stuff, get rid of that stock quiver that's on there. It's great if you're going from your tree stand to your house or your truck to your tree stand and it's not brushy. It's great. I lost as your dad would say, the most expensive trail marker out there.
6 of them.
Yeah, well, I lost one, and then I went into town and bought a tight spot, but I lost 5 more coming down one little tiny spot, and that was because that was me. So I had to go back up to the truck and build 5 more and bring them down, or 4 more and bring them down. But other than that, I mean, True Fire release worked awesome. The only thing I found with that was that when it gets saturated over a couple of days, the little metal ring, when you pull back your bow, will start to squeak on the leather. So I just took my wind checker out, put it underneath there, and took care of it. But other than that, just little things. But everything worked great. What is it? The Cabela's Space Saver rain suit. Mm-hmm. The top worked awesome. I never wore the pants because you're just gonna get wet, so you might as well just get wet. But the top worked great, in and out, dried it off. Dried pretty quickly in the wind.
I used the new Badlands Bale rain jacket. I have the pants on the bottom, and I've posted other videos on it. But the Bale rain jacket was fantastic.
Yeah.
I of all the gear that I took on this trip, I did not use the Badlands game bags that integrate onto the Vario system, unfortunately. I did not use my Rack Addicts kill pad, but that's another great piece of kit. If you're looking for a multi-purpose piece of kit, it's in my bag dump video. But the Rack Addicts kill pad, I was not able to use that. And there was one more thing that I was talking about that I didn't use. I didn't use my copper spur, my Big Agnes copper spur with the hotel Rainfly. However, Michael did a 5-day fly fishing trip on the Smith River in June, and it rained on them every single day, and that's another piece of gear that we both use. We both have the copper spur, and his copper spur was flawless. So great thing to say about that. I want to talk about broadheads really quick. So Michael and I went against the grain of most elk hunters this year, and we were using mechanicals, and we did not actually put one through an elk this year, but we're shooting Veteran Innovations Combat Veteran Mechanicals. Veteran Innovations is it is a veteran-owned company by a retired sailor by the name of Matt Fudieri, and he has designed some incredible mechanical broadheads. And I've shot his original veterans and harvested several deer with them, and they're flawless, and they are field point accurate. And he created the combat veteran. I was able to get my hands on a test broadhead last year during the Maryland whitetail season, and I shot it out of my At that time I was using a new breed, BX32, and out of my Mission Sub 1 crossbow, fired the 100 grain combat veteran out of both of those pieces of archery equipment, and they work incredible. And so we spoke with Matt about it, and he was able to get us some 125 grain heads. I'm shooting a 517 grain arrow, and Michael is shooting 496. 496. And that's what we intended to use on elk this year. If you're looking for mechanicals, Veteran Innovation products owned by Matt Fudieri, they are 100% American made, American materials, and they're an incredible broadhead. So
and they are engineered to the extreme.
They're over engineered.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. They fly great. They fly straight.
And they work incredibly well.
There's no way that broadhead cannot deploy.
Correct.
There's no way. Yeah. He did a great job on designing those.
So what else do we have to say?
I'm glad I'm not wet right now.
The first few days we were wet because we were sweating,
Yeah.
and we were welcoming rain. And once it started raining, I was wet for 4 days, like soaked. The only thing dry that I had was my sleeping bag and my sleeping top and a pair of sleeping socks.
Yeah.
Those 3 items. Everything else and the inside of my pack.
Yeah.
Everything else was soaking wet. I was running the Solomon something GTXs. They worked great for about the first 4 or 5 days of hunting through the natural moisture of the Pacific Northwest and going through the creek bottoms and swamps and everything. But after the first day of just solid downpour, it exceeded the moisture barrier capability of that boot.
We owned.
And it was,
even the Crispies. My feet got wet.
Crushed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and the thing that you have to understand, though, if you plan on coming out here and hunting, you're just going to hunt wet. If it's in September or October or November, you're just going to hunt wet because it could rain for 4 or 5 hours, and then you go out and hunt. Even a day later, once you walk through the salal and the ferns, you're going to be soaked from
You're
the waist.
wet.
You're just wet. Yeah. So plan on being wet.
So let's go. We're sitting here with a couple of beverages on the table. Michael and I are both Washington boys, both born and raised in Washington. I'm born and raised out of Washougal. Michael was born and raised in Kelso, Washington, and then moved north later on. Yeah. We both are Navy. Michael's retired. I have 9 months left. We both have been stationed in Washington State. I had a break in service, and I was a fireman for the city of Walla Walla. But when Michael and I met in
I was a fireman for
Michael was
Camino Island.
Camino Island, that's right. And we've had a lot of similarities through our life.
And we both bull rode.
And we both rode bulls, yeah. In 93-ish, I think it was, we were at a friend's house over in Italy. It was a Super Bowl Sunday. Michael and I were both bored, and so we both decided, hey, let's walk down the road. We were in a little suburb of Naples, Italy called Pinatamari.
Pinatamari.
And was it the Bambusa?
The Bambusa bar.
There was a bar there called the Bambusa, and they were known for having over 100 beers.
100 varieties. They called it the Around the World. They had over 100 varieties of different beer from around the world.
So Michael and I decided we were going to get away from the crowded house and we were going to go for a walk. So we walked to the Bambusa, and we saddle up to the bar. And in literally this bar, it was like standing in front of the cold case in a grocery store. It was
just
just
a beer store.
It was just glass door after glass door after glass door of super cold beer from all around the world. And we're looking down to the left and we're looking down to the right, and we finally look center. It's like, Michael,
is that an R?
Is that Rainier?
Is that Red
Like,
Cap?
holy cow, that's Ranye. So we called the bartender over and we were like, we want your Rainier. And he's like, okay, 2 Rainiers. And this is all some broken English, broken Italian. We're like, how much do you have? He's like, I think we have like a case of Rainier. We're like, bring it on. So 1993, Michael and I sat at a bar of a suburb of Pinatamari, Italy, and we drank a case of Rainier together, and we've been drinking Rainier for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
great beer.
So we didn't kill any elk this year, but
No.
we're certainly killing a couple of wild reindeer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have some more adventures.
We got Maryland coming up in
If
November.
all goes as planned, everything goes right on Michael's drive home, which he begins tomorrow. I still have 2 days of elk hunting left here. I'm switching units closer. Well, we'll talk about what happened on our last day. But Michael's going to drive up to Maryland for the first 2 weeks of November for the Maryland whitetail rut, and we're going to put some whitetail
on the ground,
and
guaranteed.
And Michael and I are we're the full circle kind of guys. I supplemental feed and try to manage my little piece of 55-acre heaven in southern Maryland. I'm leasing it, but love it. And so I supplemental feed. I watch the deer year round. I've tried really hard to manage that property the best that I can. And we harvest it, we field dress it, and we process our own meat. And then Michael's a retired cook from the Navy, and I'm a hobby chef, and so we also prepare it, cure it, cook it, and mangiare the whitetail or the game animal period. But anyhow, I think we kind of got ahead of ourselves, and my fault. We still have 2 days left of elk season down here on the coast, but I summited the highest peak of the hunt over the last 10 days yesterday afternoon, and checked my phone signal, had full bars, and I was in some incredible elk sign, and I was literally going to send Michael a message on the Garmin InReach and say, hey man, I'm going to utilize my layering system, my bale rain jacket, and Nyla Flume bag, and my Rack Addicts kill pad as a layering system, and I was going to heat up water in my jet boil all night long, and I was literally going to crawl under a tree and camp out on that ridge last night and have him come meet me with an extra meal pack this morning. And I pulled up the weather report, and they had a storm front rolling in that was 100% guaranteed rain, up to at least 2 inches of rain, and sustained 20 and 30 mile per hour winds.
Yeah.
And then it was going to transition into 90% chance of rain with thunderstorms all day. It was just going to be crap weather for
bow hunting,
for bad weather on the actual coast for bow hunting. So I hunted over there till right about dark, and then we pulled out. We decided to pull camp. So I'm gonna hunt more inland over the next 2 days and see if I still can't get an elk on the ground. But that's why we're kind of splitting up. Our tandem hunt has ended, and I'm going to try to get after it solo for the next couple of days, reluctantly. But nothing tastes worse than tag soup.
That's correct.
And if I harvest an elk down there, I'm going to bring some elk home for Michael so he can put it in his freezer and take it home with him in November. So that's how bromances work. Even if I pack that entire elk out by myself on one leg, then that's how a bromance works.
Yeah, that we share the givings of earth.
So hey, now that I've thrown that out there, hopefully it's not a secret to you guys already, but maybe it is. I'm a right leg amputee. I am active duty Navy, explosive ordnance disposal, but I did not lose my leg overseas in combat. I came home from combat and lost my leg on sovereign soil. But 2 pieces of gear that turned out to be clutch for me through this whole hunt. Was that's been clutch for me. Was my crossover stabilizer. I forget which one did we get? It's the 10 to 22.
The 8 to 22. I think it's 8 to 22.
Is it 8 to 22?
I think it's 8 to 22.
I think 8 to 10 to 22.
Yeah.
That stabilizer, I could extend that out and use it as a makeshift trekking pole going uphill.
Yep.
So climbing out of some of those canyons, that was amazing. And then the second thing, if you're an amputee and you just want to really get out and get after it, the Fill Hour All Pro foot. It came highly recommended to me from a very active amputee out of Utah. You can find him on Instagram under Try No Feet. I'm not going to say his name on the camera because we're not at that personal level yet where I know that I can say his actual name out on social media right now. But you can find him on Instagram as Try No Feet. And he introduced me to the All Pro less than a month ago. I've been utilizing the College Park Soleus Tactical, and I chose that foot because of how it was made, and being on the type of special operations team that I was on in the Navy, I needed something that wasn't just carbon, because I have a tendency to fall out of airplanes with a lot of stuff hanging on me, and I was afraid that in my activities in the Navy I might actually break a foot when I really couldn't afford to have a foot break. So I utilize the Soleus Tactical, but it's super heavy. It's all metal. So I've watched Try No Feet, and we've been tracking each other for about 6 months to a year now. And so I hit him up and said, hey, what foot are you using when you're hunting? Because he hunts mule deer, he hunts elk, he hunts antelope. He's scouting year round. The guy gets after it, and he's a triathlete as well. So he told me he's using the Fill Hour All Pro. So I contacted my great leg tech at Walter Reed Medical Center and asked him if he could get it, and he got that foot in about 10 days before I was supposed to depart to come out here. We put it on. I walked around. I was literally walking around Walter Reed Medical Center with a 40-pound Badlands Vario 33 on, loaded down with gear, and I walked around all day testing that foot out, and we gave it the thumbs up, and that foot performed like it. To me, that was my all-star.
Well,
that was my
and you beat it up. I mean, if they want to put it through a test, you tested that. I mean, because the stuff we were going up and around and on and down and falling on this and stepping over that, it was awesome. It performed pretty dang well. I mean,
it was my player of the game.
Yeah.
It completely changed my hunt.
Yeah.
So if you're an amputee and you hunt and you're looking for a new foot, Fill Hour All Pro.
Yeah.
It is All Pro.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think we've pretty much summed up the whole deal. Nature paint worked out really well.
And we both used nature paint.
We both used the nature paint like the Born and Raised guys used. We gave that a shot this year. It worked out good.
Yeah.
I mean, it dried a little bit one time, but other than that, it goes on really good. It comes off much easier than it goes on.
Yep.
And it unless you really rub your face, it stays on there.
Yeah.
The Salal took some of it off.
Oh, the Salal took a lot. Yeah.
So, but other than that, I think all the gear passed the test for the most part.
It did,
and
yeah.
It was a great hunt. It was 10 days of the hardest hunt I've ever done in my life, and I still need to get a Rosie. So maybe next year I'll come back and see if we can't fill a tag and get that, because I've already got 2 Rocky Mountains.
Not with a bow.
Not with a bow, but I still got 2 Rocky. They count. And then we'll just have to go after a Thule and get that done.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's no limits to anybody. If you have 2 legs, if you have 1 leg, it doesn't matter. Find a partner that you can spend 10 days with in the woods without tearing each other's throat out, and go out and have a good time.
I'm really glad you said that, because I was sitting here thinking about the next thing that I was going to talk about. If you're not already hunting the Pacific Northwest coast and you think that you want to come out and try to shoot a Roosevelt down there, you need to come out here with somebody that you are deeply connected with. Yeah. Because if it wasn't for our friendship, we might never hunt together again. That it will test every aspect of who you are, what you are, and what you have with you.
And it comes down to trust.
Yep. It was the most challenging hunt I've ever been on.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
for sure. And to know that if something happened, and the catch factor to that is, glad we had the inReach, that we could still read. I mean, it was a 10-minute delay because of how thick the brush and the trees were. But if I fell and needed help, I know that Aaron is going to be running as fast as he can to get over there to help me. And You got to trust your people.
You
You
do.
can't have somebody that's just gonna walk out on you in the woods.
Somebody that even when you get irritated with each other, which there were a few times.
Sure, absolutely. It's
few
natural.
times that somebody
Your feet hurt, your back hurt,
Yeah.
you're wet, you're hungry, you're trying to keep water in your pack, and the bulls aren't coming in, and it tests your wherewithal.
Yeah.
But with that all being said, and I keep telling people, that is why we elk hunt. It's not about filling the tag. It's about getting out, looking at the country that we fight for, and to spend that with somebody that is compatible with who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, friendship is this only deepened our friendship.
And we're very different hunters.
We are very different hunters.
And we've hunted Sika elk together.
Mhm.
We've hunted whitetail together.
We have.
We've hunted hogs together.
We have.
We've hunted turkeys together. And all four of those types of hunting has always been just incredibly easy and smooth.
Mhm.
The only issues we've ever had in those four other hunting events was when we've allowed other hunters to come into our little circle that's caused any type of issue.
That's right.
This elk hunting trip, and maybe it was just down to the environments, the extremes of it, and just the lack of success because
Frustration
I'd
set
say
in.
we're pretty decent hunters.
I would say we're beyond pretty decent
And we
hunters.
flat out got our backsides handed to us. Yeah.
Pretty much.
And so it will test every bit of connection that you have with somebody if you go down there. So make sure you go down there with somebody that no matter what happens, you know that's not going to be the defining moment that ends your friendship.
Yeah.
So I love this man.
You're not going to do what you did in the bar, are you?
No. I've already that's already social media.
That's already social
That's
media?
already out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it was great. I mean, I would do it over again tomorrow if I could. So we've got a lot of years to hunt together.
We do.
And as you said, I don't think if we went somewhere in Montana or Colorado or something, we would not have been as frustrated as we were here. And it was the environment. The elk weren't talking. The brush was thick. We were wet all the time. But other than those few things, it was an awesome hunt.
So other than the entire hunt, it was an awesome hunt.
But that's what keeps elk hunters in the woods.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yep. So I've said it before. Michael's probably going to roll his eyes and shake his head. I firmly believe in the 60-30-10 principle. 60% training and tactics. 30% equipment and technology. 10% luck. And Michael and I have put a full year into planning this hunt and
honey.
Right? Choosing our equipment, testing our equipment, thinking that we were in the right shape for this hunt, and we were, as much as you think that you can be.
Yeah.
Our equipment, absolutely across the board.
Yeah.
That 10% luck was not in our favor this time. It's the 60-30-10 principle. Firmly believe in that. So.
We differ. We differ. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I would do it again tomorrow. But
I am going to do it again tomorrow.
Still in pursuit of a Rosie.
Yeah. Yep.
So, many years to come.
So, Dirk, haven't forgot about you. You know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And you know what Dirk I'm talking about.
Yep.
So we were going to kind of talk about that tonight, but I'm going to go out and continue to chase these critters for 2 more days. So, Dirk, you and I might be having a little bit of a conversation. You might be receiving some footage yet. Crossing the fingers.
Hope so.
2 more days.
Yeah, 2 more days. It only takes a moment.
Oh, one other piece of gear that we use together. Phelps game calls.
Oh, phenomenal.
Yes.
Loved them.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I used the red one, the red amp.
I thought of Phelps because we started talking about the amazing and handsome Dirk.
Oh, Well, now everybody knows what you're talking about. Anyway.
I'm sorry that Dirk's beard is better than yours.
Oh, that's okay. Just getting ready to come off. But no, I used which people tube I got? The Renegade, and you used the Unravel.
So I started out with the Unrivaled when we were planning our backcountry version of this hunt.
And I thought he was calling goats.
I started out with the Unrivaled. It doesn't have the depth and the projection that I wanted, so I switched to the
largest one.
Yes,
the Unleashed.
The Unleashed, and it unleashes some volumes.
It's loud.
Yeah. So, if you're in the Washington area on the coast, Bob's Sporting Goods. Awesome. Yes, great selection of gear, very helpful. Yeah, yep, good dudes. And there is a Burgerville there.
There is a Burgerville there.
Yeah, if you haven't had Burgerville and you come to Southwest Washington or the Portland area for any type of adventure or vacation, you have to check out Burgerville.
Got to get a Burgerville.
So, but yeah, Phelps Game Calls.
Awesome.
He's
a local boy.
Payel.
Yeah.
We called in some very particular unvocal elk this year.
Yes.
And I contribute that to Phelps Game Calls. Jason's little pouch that you can put up to 8 calls in.
I wish I had, because my zippers were so loud.
So no joke, I carried 4 calls in that for several days of. And I know we keep saying it because it's really, unless you go down there and see it, you really can't understand. But we're going to keep telling you anyhow to try to help you understand some of the thickest and nastiest stuff. I mean, talking Salal over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some reprod that you had to take your pack off to get through it. And you're sliding through and then pulling your pack through.
Just go to your local botanical garden, find the viney maple, and walk through it. At this, with a pack and a bow.
Yeah, at that angle.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I carried that little call pouch hanging around my neck, exterior of my clothing for days, and dropped into a canyon. And we were going to take a snack break, and I was going to shoot a quick video and talk about Jason's little game pouch. And I looked down, and my gray diaphragm was gone. So, but I have to say, I replaced it when we went to Bob's to pick up a piece of gear for Michael. And of the 10 days of hunting and going through all of that crap, and I never, even after I lost that call, I still hung that little case around my neck. That was the only call that came out the entire time. Yeah, it's great gear. Love your stuff, Jason.
Yeah, great stuff. And I just want to close with one thing. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
We were driving down a road, and we were going to hunt an area that we hadn't hunted yet. It was a big, thick canyon, and it was one of our target areas. And as we were coming in the road that morning, there was a gentleman with his pack on his back, sweating his butt off, had his bow in his hand, and he was trucking. And we stopped and talked to him for a few minutes, and he probably had walked quite a long ways to get where he was.
6 to 7 miles.
Because it was a gated area, and he was getting to his permit area. But anyway, long story short, we gave him a ride up as close as he wanted to his area. And then when we got out, I gave him my number. I said, call us if you need a hand getting an elk out or whatever. And so he hunted all day, and I got a text message at 10:30 at night that said, hey, I'm out. I said, great. And he says, hey, there's a bull in there.
Yep.
I didn't get him. You guys go in and get him. So
name is Warren.
Good dude. We texted back and forth for a little bit. He told us about where he was at, in the drainage, and we went in there after him, and we blew him up over the top of the other ridge. But pay it forward. Help somebody out, because hopefully that karma comes back to you and somebody helps you out when you need a hand. So we're a great community. We can't always be about ourselves. We got to be about the community. Yeah. So you see a hunter that needs a hand or needs help doing something, pay it forward.
So just my closing is some of the guys that I've been my last elk hunt, which was a backcountry hunt, was 2004. A lot of things have changed, so huge props to Born and Raised Outdoors.
Yep.
Hush.
Yes.
The Bugler.
Elk
101.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Medell. Angry Spike Productions.
Yep.
Are we missing somebody?
Elk Nut is Paul Medell.
Yeah.
No, I think, and those guys. I mean, we wore out their digital video. If that is possible.
Corey and Donnie, love watching.
Geez.
Yeah.
I don't have any grandpa jokes.
Yeah. Love watching your guys' stuff.
Yeah.
You guys keep doing what you're doing.
You're educating us.
You're educating a lot of people, and you're inspiring. Not necessarily the two of us, but you're inspiring.
Well, they're inspiring to us.
Yes, but let me finish the sentence. We're way past the dating stage. The honeymoon's over. You're reaching out, inspiring to people that they may have never enjoyed the outdoors as a hunter.
Yeah.
And so they're catching the bug and they're doing it.
Oh, forgot Steve.
Steve Leonard?
Yeah.
Steve Leonard out in the Pacific Northwest, right here in Washougal.
Yeah.
He's a fishing guide and a taxidermist, and he's hunted this area archery elk for quite a while. I reached out to him, and he gave us a few pointers through our hunt. So yeah, Steve's a great guy too.
Yep.
Is that it?
That's it.
Well, it's got to be it because we're at my mom and dad's house right now. My mom was on the other side of the camera giving us this, letting us know the dinner's ready.
The
It's getting
international
cold,
sign
so
for dinner's getting cold.
and
Better get your butt in.
we're probably boring you guys.
We are.
So
I think so.
all right.
Yeah.
So we'll post another video in November when we're chasing some whitetails.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I'm Mike Sims from Timber and Tines Outdoors.
I'm Aaron Ritter, and I am Limitless Outdoors.
And I guess we'll see you
next time. That was so corny.
We're coming, Ma!
That's staying on the video.